Hi everybody, old guy here, and I started noticing this book, I guess about a year, 2 years ago. I was showing up on at thrift stores and used bookstores, and I was wondering why people were getting rid of it because it seemed like a pretty decent story. So on one of my forays, I picked up a copy and finally got around to reading it. That whole crime of having unread books on your shelves dictating that I do so. And as I suspected, it's a pretty good story. Primarily because it's a true story, a fictionalized account of a true story. Fictionalized account of a true story. I wonder if anybody else has done that. This book is a family saga tracing the Tademy family from their origins as slaves in Virginia until their eventual emancipation in Louisiana, and then from there. If you know anything about slavery, then the Louisiana version of it was absolutely the worst. So much so that Eastern slave owners used it as a threat to keep their own slaves docile. Very credible threat because the sugar plantations of Louisiana were horrific, and the plantation owners, mostly Creoles, were particularly cruel. Elizabeth is sold from the plantation in Virginia where she was born and becomes a slave at Rosedew on the Cane River south of Natchitoches, a place owned by the Durbane and Fredeau families, and I'm probably butchering these names. They are Creoles, but they are not particularly cruel, and the plantation life isn't particularly onerous, which is like comparing a Club Fed with Leavenworth. Prison is still prison, and Elizabeth's imprisonment is as total as any felon's. She does not own her own life. She doesn't even own herself. The only joy she can take is what the masters allow. And if there is one thing about slavery that everyone needs to understand is the complete hopelessness of it. You have no future, no prospects, and your very happiness is completely in the hands of someone who doesn't even regard you as human. Think of it as lifelong basic training without any chance of ever leaving. At Rosedew, Elizabeth marries Gerasim, I'm going to say, and begins having the children who will, over 7 generations, result in the present-day Tademy family. Lolita Tademy's extraordinary efforts to trace her family all the way back to the original Virginia slaves has given us one of the best documented histories of day-to-day plantation life that's out there. She has peppered the book with pictures of family members, old portraits, and copies of documents, say, like the one showing the sale of Elizabeth's family members to various plantations. That, of course, was the main horror of slave life, that you or your family members will be sold to pay plantation debts. You're not a person. You're a side of beef. The most villainous person in this whole saga is also one of the most important, the Creole planter Narcisse Fredeau, who arranges to sell the slave Clement to a plantation in Virginia so he can have unimpeded access to Clement's wife, Philomene. Philomene not only loses Clement to the slave trade, but her 2 daughters by Clement to yellow fever, and submits to Narcisse because, really, what else can you do? But Philomene uses Narcisse's superstition against him and claims visions, which Narcisse must heed or there will be dire consequences. In this way, she manipulates a better life for herself and the 8 children they have between them. and the rest is history. A history you should read. Old guy here. See you later.